Okay, we're live. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to day 8 of 12 days of communication and confidence for parents who want to improve communication with a confident teen girl. My name is Tahira Bell. I'm your host for these 12 days. I can't believe we've made it to day 8. And tonight's going to be a little bit of overlap from what we spoke about a few days ago, because I realized that on the video where we talked about how not to freak out as a way to improve communication and build a closer bond to your daughter, I kind of used the example of disrespect a lot. And so I wanted to at least take some time to highlight some things you can specifically do when it's a disrespectful situation, because I didn't really go there as much in that video. Okay, so thank you. Hey, Malika, thank you so much for joining. We haven't even started yet. We're just getting ready to introduce tonight's topic, which is what to do when you find your teen is being disrespectful and angry. Because again, we want to improve communication. That's the goal. That's our focus for these 12 days. But what happens when she makes it really impossible, right? Those of you joining on the replay, thank you so much for being here. Those of you who are joining live, thank you for being here. I'm Tahira Bell. I'm a life coach for teen girls. And in my work with girls, I work with them as they navigate these very challenging teen years and help them really build their confidence, improve their decision-making skills, and tap into who they are on the inside. I'm on a mission to empower girls and inspire them to really stand up and shine. And so that is the focus behind almost everything you'll ever hear me talk about. Communication is our focus tonight, okay? So let's get started. And let me just say this. I by no means am saying that you need to accept or condone disrespectful behavior. I want to make that clear, right? Yesterday we talked about how important it is to have high expectations. And that's for her attitude too, okay? So really look at tonight as a way to have some insight, just to understand where she's coming from, and then maybe tweak your approach if you think it works for you, okay? Again, I'm not in your home. I'm trying to be very general with what I'm speaking about and cover just the major different scenarios that I see in my work with girls, okay? But no two teens are different. And ultimately, you know what's best for you, your personality, your family, your lifestyle, okay? First thing, and this is probably the most important thing, don't take it personally, okay? 9 times out of 10, I can almost guarantee that when she's being disrespectful, when she's got that funky attitude, it's most likely not even about you. It probably doesn't even have anything to do with you. And what makes it so frustrating is that, you know, as her mom or as her dad, you find yourself in this situation where you're her punching bag, right? And she just comes to you just with all of her stuff. And she's angry and frustrated at whatever may be going on in her world. But then she says something nasty to you, right? She can be mean. Teen girls can be really mean. And I have spoken to enough parents to know how hurtful the things that they say can be. So if I can tell you anything, if I had to pick one piece of advice, it would be this, and it's not to take it personally, okay? So just to give you a peek into the things that you already know that she's going through, on the younger side, our 13, 14-year-old girls, right? They're going through just that awkwardness of their bodies changing, getting used to that. That brings frustration sometimes, quite frankly, right? They're hormonal. They're going through emotions that they can't even make sense of. So when they're blowing up and exploding and just bursting into tears and just doing all the things that they do, they don't even understand why they're doing it, okay? They're under stress, school, their workloads, okay? They're juggling a lot. And if you think back to when you were a teen, we've been there. We've juggled the same things that they are, okay? But then they're also in an age where there's a whole different layer with technology, with social media, and those things are very real. I always, like to give the example of how, and I may have said this already this week, I don't remember, but when we didn't get invited to a party, we just didn't know about it unless somebody told us. But for our girls, if they're not invited to a party or they get left out of something, they have to see it all unfold on Snapchat, right? And just feel completely left out. Those are real problems for them. It may seem small to us, but it's big for them, okay? So they have the relationship stress with their friends at school, or if they're dating, that brings a whole different element, right? There are a lot of teens now that I meet with and that I talk to are really, really questioning this whole idea of sexuality. Those are things that they're talking about at school, and they're still trying to find their way, find their perspective, figure out just what all of that even means, okay? And then on top of it, they're constantly having to worry about the future, right? Because what's the message that we give them? You're in high school, you have to get ready for college. What do you want to do when you leave college? All this stuff. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. And then the icing on the cake, as I see it, is that they don't sleep. There are actually studies that show that you could look about the effects of sleep in teenagers. What I see basically just in knowing their schedules is they're not sleeping enough. So on top of everything else we just talked about, they're tired. Okay, so you already know how that feels, right? We're parents, we're tired. It just adds to an already kind of crazy storm, right? So those are the things to just keep in mind and be sensitive to when you see the blow up or the disrespect, okay? And once again, not excusing the behavior, just sharing some insight, because what happens is, I literally had this happen last week. A parent was texting me, because I check in with the parents sometimes before I meet with the girls, and she was just telling me how awful her daughter was behaving in terms of her attitude and the disrespectful things that she was saying at home. Well, when we hopped on the phone, it was not that she was mad at her mom. It wasn't that she was just frustrated with her sister and, all of the people she was really taking it out on. She was mad about a situation that happened at school. Her feelings were hurt, right? But when she just comes home and we're that dumping ground as the parent, a lot of times it looks like a personal attack, okay? Trust me, it's not. Once she gets to the bottom of what's going on, what's really going on, she'll feel better, okay? And that's when we kind of go back to what we talked about a few days ago, where you don't have to go there with her and have a bad mood or have a bad attitude, okay? And this leads me to the second point I wanted to make. If you can, and I know this depends on your personality too, but if you can avoid the back and forth, the yelling match, and just really think about modeling what it means to maintain your composure and really be in control of your emotions, right? Not necessarily controlled by your emotions. That can go a long way, because here's what you can do, right? She's disrespectful. She's, having her tantrum or episode, whatever she's doing, right? Just mad at the world. Imagine if you just don't go there with her. You listen, and we talked a lot about listening, right? How to listen without judgment. Just let her say what she's going to say. And then she may need to just go off by herself. So think about her situation at home. Does she have a safe space? Does she have her own room, or is she sharing with a sibling? Does she have an area in the house where she can go to be alone? Because sometimes after the blow up, what she really needs is a safe space to just be, a place where she can think, where she can just figure out her own emotions, figure out her feelings. Because in the moment, she has no clue. Okay, some girls listen to music, and we talk about this. This is something you can teach them to do. And so then they're not so lost, right? When they're right in the middle of it, you can literally listen and then say, hey, do you need a minute? Or whatever that, understanding that you can create with her is. Do you need to go to your room, right? But your tone, if it's calm, it'll send the right message. And what really would help is if you talk about it beforehand. If she knows that when you say, do you need a minute? That's her cue to go to that safe space. Go to your room, listen to music if that's her thing. Some girls just take a shower. I have one client, she tells me, she's like, Miss Bell, I just had to take a shower, right? And she goes in and takes a shower and she feels so much better afterwards, right? Some girls love to journal, okay? So taking that emotion and putting it on paper, that's a good way to get the frustration out. And then some girls may literally just need to be still and think. Quiet and think, okay? So when you can create that space, or make sure she has that space and then uses that space to decompress, we can de-escalate the problem. And then once she calms down, because she will, then have the conversation, okay? You with me? Now, I'm going to just list a few other things that we've already talked about, so I won't go into full detail. You can go back to the previous videos with a couple of these, but when she's angry, when she's disrespectful, I do want to remind you how important it is to listen, right? To show her that you value her by listening, right? To, even if you can, find a way to, say she's not completely on 10, right? Maybe she's just frustrated, not to the point where she's disrespectful and completely angry, but maybe she's frustrated with something that happened, in class. What if there's a way you can just slide in what we talked about yesterday, a way of complementing her inner strengths? So say something happened, she was working in a group, she hates working in a group, and she's going on and on about why she hates working in a group and how, the teacher just doesn't like her and she's the only one in the class who the teacher doesn't like and doesn't treat her fair. You know how they do, right? What if you can see something she did in that situation that she did well? Maybe you can say something like, well, at least you stood up to the plate, right? You're complimenting her leadership skills, right? That boosts her confidence, right? Or I'm glad you just decided to do it anyway, right? Sometimes you have a girl who's doing all the work and everyone else is slackers. Maybe you can applaud her for her effort. Applaud the fact that she cares enough about the project to even be frustrated. You can find something that'll just calm her down and make her feel good about herself in that moment when she's venting, okay? Another thing, and this is one of those things that you just want to try to do anyway and make part of your life. We talked about playing games. How often do you just laugh, right? And I think the other day I told you some ideas like to watch TV together or listen to music together. Watch a funny movie or just tell jokes. We do that sometimes. We just crack jokes at home, right? Just to laugh. It's really therapeutic. So imagine if you just had an environment where it's okay to laugh. She knows when she's acting crazy. She may just get herself together, come back downstairs, if you will, and you can just laugh about it. And then talk about what the real issue was, okay? Let me grab my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, okay. So here's another one. We all need a way to have a healthy outlet. Okay, so for me, for example, I love to box. I wish I were a boxer as a teen. I wish I would have known the value of having that punching bag, literally, that I could go to. Okay, so for some girls, it could be going for a run, right? For some girls, it could be something like, like the adult coloring books. That's really, for the real creative types, coloring just brings so much calm, and it brings them to a place where they're focused on something that's fun for them, that's relaxing for them, and that's calming for them. Okay, I have some girls who love those coloring books. If you have an artist, painting, or an avid reader, right? I have one of my boys is like this. He loves to read, and I always know when he's stressed out or he has a bad day, because the first thing he wants to do is just escape literally into a book. All right. Knowing what her thing is, maybe she's a writer, maybe she loves to journal, whatever it is, she needs to know what it is. So if your daughter doesn't, or if you don't know whether she does or not, talk to her about it. Talk to her about it, because that's what you can help her go back to in these moments when she's so stressed and so angry and so disrespectful. But if you just go there with her and it just becomes, a yelling match, or just who can have the attitude for the longest, or whatever happens, in your home when your daughter's acting up, right? Does it really teach her how to gain control of her emotions? Okay, that's really the goal. So help her have a healthy outlet. Okay, if she doesn't know what it is, help her figure it out. If you don't know how to help her figure it out, let me know. I can help you with that, okay? We can figure out something that works for her. We all need it, right? We all need a healthy outlet just to let stuff go, okay? I just touched on the other thing, which was teaching her to manage her emotions, okay? So how can you help her do that? We spoke about discipline, right? And how, as a parent, you want to have those high expectations for your daughter. You want to hold her accountable for whatever your rules are, for whatever you expect of her, in and out of the house, right? So one thing that can help prevent some of the huge blow-ups is if she knows what to expect ahead of time. Okay, so an example that happens all the time with most of my clients is turning their phone in. Okay, most girls, in the younger, middle school, younger high school, they have to have their phones turned in, whatever that looks like, by a certain time in the evenings, right? They never want to do that. Okay, so then now, as mom, you're going up to her room at 10 o'clock. Hey, I need your phone. It's 10:30. You didn't bring me your phone. And then she goes off, right? Of course she's wrong. You shouldn't have had to remind her. So you're already upset, right? What if you actually have the conversation beforehand about what happens if she doesn't comply? So that she already knows. Does it guarantee she's not going to get upset? No. But at the end of the day, she'll know. She'll know whatever, the punishment is for her not turning the phone in, okay? I could give you an example. I have 4 nieces that came to stay with us for a week last summer. And I told them, I said, listen, I'm going to feed you girls every day that you're here, but I need your help in the kitchen afterwards, okay? They decided one day they were just going to show up and eat and just head to the basement and hang out, right? I turned off the Wi-Fi. They came upstairs so fast, I didn't even have to say a word, right? You can use that. You can totally use it. It's yours, right? They came upstairs like a herd of elephants. As soon as they couldn't get online, they already knew there was something I was supposed to be doing, and I didn't do it. They went straight to the kitchen. I didn't even have to say a word, okay? So something like that, where they know what to expect, all right? The key to really handling, managing, whatever you want to say, the disrespectful behavior that you may see, your teen daughter exhibit from time to time, is to stay calm. If you can train yourself, if you're not the calm type, because we're all not, right? But if you can just train yourself to really hone in on how you feel in the moment and examine your own emotions and then make a decision, right? We talked about inserting that pause. This is when you do that. You already know she's going crazy, so you need to take a minute. Be mindful about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and then remember, being calm and being consistent will help her know what to expect. Being calm will keep you from going there with her. Being consistent means there's no surprises. She already knows. And this is something you learn if you're a teacher, right? And Malika, you can tell me how this works for you. As a teacher, you already know discipline in a classroom has to be consistent and it has to be fair. It works at home too. It works at home too, but they have to know what the expectation is, okay? My final thoughts on this for you tonight before I send you on your way for the evening. I'd love to encourage you to approach the situation in a different way. So the tendency is to get mad, right? Or get frustrated. Or just, sometimes parents are just in complete disbelief. I cannot believe she's talking to me like this when I'm the one who, and then, lists all of the things that we do for our children as parents, right? Well, what if you go back to some of the first things we talked about and kind of have some of that sensitivity to what's really going on in her world, even though that's not what she's talking about, right? Right now, she's going in on you. But let's just, remember what's going on. And then when you finally do talk to her, and it may not be immediately, I strongly recommend that it not be immediately, especially if you check in with yourself and you're kind of going up there with your own emotions, right? What if you could approach the situation with curiosity, compassion? What if you approach your questions that you're going to ask her about whatever the situation is from a place where you just genuinely are curious and you want to know, hey, what's going on? She knows she was disrespectful. She'll probably eventually, maybe, hopefully, apologize for it, right? You don't have to ignore it, but I'm just saying in the moment, right, when you decide to communicate, what if you just changed your perspective and changed your approach? Okay, I don't know if we talked about this, but I say this a lot to parents. Why questions? Like literally, why did you do that? Or why did you wear that? Or why did you go off on me? Those questions really make her defensive. If you can rephrase the question into like a what question, or a what do you think about that? Or how did, such and such unfold? Whatever the scenario is, if you can ask the question in a way where she doesn't feel like she's has to defend her position, she won't get defensive about it, that will also help bring her down, okay? So think curiosity and compassion. Those are my tips for tonight. Please feel free to leave any comments you have, any questions you have in the chat. I check all of them. I try to reply to all of them. Those of you who've messaged me, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your insight. And thank you for your topic suggestions, because we've got 4 more days left. And so I'm going to be able to really weave in some things that some of you've already asked me to address. And that's what I want to do. So if there's something going on in your home or something that I can, just help shed some light on for you that will help you improve communication, build a closer bond, right, with you and your teen daughter, or that can help build her confidence, let me know. I'm happy to talk about it. Until then, I will see you tomorrow night. Bye.